Your narcissistic abuser did it on purpose. Point blank, period. Now, in my experience with my narc mother, I mostly regarded her behavior as, the fruits of her own abusive, situation she was in as a little girl, you know. And it always felt like this frenetic, crazy, random energy, right? But having since gone no contact, and I'm just shy of 2 years no contact at this point, I started to replay different things in my mind, and I saw different patterns that made me feel as though, okay, this is a person making a choice, The glare is killing me. Um, this is a person making a choice uh, to do these things as a means to emotionally regulate. Let me give you an example. My aunt became pretty ill, and my mom, my narc mom, myself, and her boyfriend drove to Las Vegas to go pick her up so we can bring her to our home so we could take care of her. When we got there, my mom noticed how her sister was in a really, atrocious state. The house was filthy, and her daughters were, kind of just sitting around. And it just seemed, kind of unthinkable that they could have their mother like that in that situation like that, especially when she was ill. And I think my mom may have said something, and they got into a big fight, her and my two cousins, back and forth, because I think they felt guilt for the state of their mom and the state of the house and all the rest of it. And so they get into a big fight. Now, my mom's kind of a coward and has never been able to stand up for herself against certain people, right? And so basically, just based on the force of the two of them coming together, she was overwhelmed, she was silenced, she was shook, right? The rest of the visit goes on, everything calms down, but I'm sure she was still pissed about it. And I think in that sense, and in that situation, my mom would have had every right to be pissed. I'm objective. I can be objective. I could side with the person even when I know that they're not the best people, right? So things calm down, though, at least on the surface. Excuse me. During the ride home, I just mentioned to my mom that, I think I want to hang out with my cousins a little bit more, because it's not just those two cousins. I had cousins from my father's side in Las Vegas. And so I wanted to hang back and stay, And I was like 18 years old, something like that. So I was like, yeah, I'll just hang back and stay. And this is on the car ride home, or when we're about to go home. And she goes off. She goes off on me, and she's like, I know you and your cousins sit around and talk about me, and that's why they went off on me, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there like, whoa. I just wanted to stay behind and hang out with my people a little bit, And I'm sitting there like, what is she talking about? I said nothing. I purposefully stayed out of the conflict. Like, why am I now in it? Why is this like my problem now? And I soon realized, oh, you couldn't get tough with them and be deliberate with them and be brass tacks, no fucking nonsense with them, but you can be a tough guy with me, because I'm the scapegoat, and this is what you normally do. You go out in the world, you have a bad experience, you come back and you fuck with me. And so, since going no contact, as I said, I've had a lot of time to reflect. And I absolutely understand now that I was chosen to specifically be used as emotional regulation by this woman, because she was a coward. I'm assuming still is a coward. And she couldn't really confront things in life. But because I came out of her and she felt like she owned me, and I was a pretty empathic, nice kid, she felt that I should absorb those things because of my sensitivity and because of the kindness I had displayed to her. And so when you ask yourself why things are happening with your narc, understand they've chosen it. Look at the patterns and look at the things they get mad at. And think about the ways they deal with other people with whom they're having some sort of contention or some sort of negative issue. Because a lot of these people are cowards. Look at how they handle that negative issue with them, and look at how they handle that negative issue with you. Now, you could jump up and say, well, parents treat their children differently. That's absolutely true. But it's not going to be that different in every single scenario. It's not going to be that different. It's not going to be that obvious. It's not going to be that accentuated. Another thing that tells me that the abuse I experienced was deliberate, and having watched other narcissists, I feel like en masse their abuse is deliberate, okay, was the fact that I could tell she enjoyed when I was upset. There were many times where in the midst of her going on a tirade, and this would start from the moment I woke up, opened the door to come out and brush my teeth and get myself together, just blah 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 blah, nonstop. But during that machine gun, rattling bullshit of her never-ending mouth running, I'd see a little smile. Particularly when, let's say, when I was a little kid, because by the time I got older, I wouldn't show her any emotion. But when I was a little kid and I would kind of break down and probably whimper and make a face like I was going to cry, that's when that look, that sick, I would almost say demonic look would come across her face. And I always noticed it, but I never allowed myself to further investigate what it might mean. I never allowed myself to put two and two together. Because, and this is the crux of why narcissistic abuse, was, especially in families, especially parent to child, is so egregious and so harmful. We're all raised under the narrative that our parents love us, that, anything negative that happens is a misunderstanding, or they were having a bad day, or it was not meant to happen, it just happened. Things happen in life. This person didn't mean to do it to you, because according to Hallmark cards, moms are the best thing in the world, so clearly I've got to be the fucked up one, right? You have to fight through all that to find the truth of what type of animal you're dealing with. I remember I had to move back home because I had some trouble, because I made some bad decisions. And I had to move back home. And I remember sitting there, going through a lot of shit, going through negotiating with lawyers and all these things, and dealing with that, and oh, where's the money gonna come from, and oh my God, how do I do this, and all that shit. And I'm in the middle of looking at all this paperwork, all these contracts with these various, law firms. And in comes my mom into the living room. And I'm sitting there. And she goes, hey. And I'm like, hello. I'm doing something. I didn't say that, but I just acknowledged her and went back to what I was doing. Like normal. She goes, in the most sing-songy, I'm the little girl who got the last cookie out the cookie jar, tee-hee voice, she goes, I'm sorry about the abuse. Big smile on her fucking face. I'm sorry about the abuse. Now, I was well into adulthood by this point, so that tone made no sense to talk to a full-grown adult. I'm sorry, like that. And then smile. And it was out of fucking left field. And what I realized, again, in hindsight, She wanted to pick a fight. Because why else would you apologize to somebody and smile? That's like me walking up to some guy like, hey, sorry I punched you in the face, man. And then expect him to take that like that's a real fucking apology. Nobody smiles during an apology. It's not a nervous reaction. What it was a bait. It was a baited hook, and I was supposed to chomp on it. But by that time, I had bigger fish to fry. As I said, I was trying to deal with lawyers and all this other bullshit. And I just wasn't focused on her. And at that point, I was kind of impervious to the attacks because I had been out the house so long, just living my adult life, that I had seen healthy people. And it really brought home to me mentally and conceptually how unhealthy she was. So it's like for me, by that point, even though I still hadn't realized she was a narcissist or what name to put to her bullshit behavior, I realized she was not right. And it's almost like if you're walking down the street and a crackhead walks up and says, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to try to engage with that person. You're just like, stay away, have a lovely day, and then you keep going. And my response to that was when she said, I'm sorry about the abuse, was the response I give the crackhead on the street. I'm like, alrighty. She couldn't believe it. I remember looking down, but in my peripheral view, I could still see her standing there like, but we're not going to fight. I thought you were going to fight. I smiled at you like a fucking drunken jackass after apologizing to you for verbal, mental, and to a certain degree when I was a little kid, physical abuse, not to say anything of exposing me to some pretty fucked up sexual situations. You know, I smiled after that, and you didn't bite. You didn't chomp down. You know? And then, you know, I think I disclosed in a couple other videos I'm LGBT or a member of that community. And, you know, the way I came out was basically her reading my journal. Okay? And deciding to wake me up at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. Drive me to this park called Leg Lake, okay? Drive me there. The sun hadn't even come up yet. We're walking through this dark-ass park, okay? And she sits me down at this bench and says, I read your journal and, you know, blah, 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 and basically compares what I am and who I am to being an animal. The details of that aren't important. I don't remember a whole bunch of the conversation. The key points I do remember are egregious enough, right? But another little tactic she had for trying to have a fucking fight with me was to, again, as I'm going over paperwork, because I'm fighting a situation that I got myself involved in, okay? As I'm doing that, she comes in again with her little sing-songy, stupid voice. She's like, you know, I always accepted you for who you are. Stupid smile again. Stupid fucking smile again. And I was just like, okay. One word response. Okay. And she stood there dumbfounded like, well, I mean, do you want to talk about it more? And I knew instinctively, I was like, I'm not taking that bait. I'm not going to be the rat that goes for the cheese and gets caught in the trap. Please. I'm not doing that. I said, nope. I said, if you feel confident with that, then you feel confident with that. But I got a lot of paperwork to do here. I got a lot of these different contracts to look at. I have a lot of things to consider. Thanks for saying that. And went right back to the work. And I think she said something else, and I purposefully ignored her. I deliberately ignored her. Okay? And another piece of evidence I have for the fact that I know it was deliberate, and I suspect yours was probably deliberate, okay, was the fact that when I confronted her as I was thinking about going no contact, with a few examples, like 2 examples out of the thousands, of really, really fucked up shit she did and said during my most vulnerable years as a child and as a teenager. She ignored it. Why? Because she knows she did it, and she knows she did it on purpose. So that if we opened up a conversation about it, what's she gonna say? I didn't realize it was bad to tell my kid, I don't give a fuck if you kill yourself, just let me find the body. I didn't realize it was bad to silence my kid. I didn't realize it was bad to triangulate the whole family against my kid. I didn't realize it was bad to turn one sibling against another. I didn't realize it was bad. Of course she did. They get pleasure out of harming you. They get pleasure out of harming you. And you really won't see it, honestly, until you become a threat. If you're a little cute little kid, you're probably going to get some shit. I mean, I've said in other videos I would go to hug my mom and she would literally push me away. Push me away when I went to hug my mom. This is like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. I remember it vividly. And it became a little game of push away, and then I'd cry, and then she'd hold me and cuddle me, right? So it wasn't all roses when I was a kid, either. But I noticed the anger, the evil, and the bullshit really turned up as I got older and I became a threat, in the sense that I was a smart kid, and she probably saw in me, that this is going to be somebody and something that's better than me, greater than me, has more potential than me, is already more confident and level-headed than I am. And most importantly, and this is coming to me as I said it, the more astute you are and the stronger you are, and the stronger you seem to be developing, what they fear is that you're going to identify what they are. Because if you're smart in other areas, you're going to be smart in this area, this game of psychology, and this game of understanding patterns within people and seeing trends in behavior and how that behavior is rewarded. So I say all that to say it was deliberate. Watch your narc abuser and watch if you can't see that smirk. I guarantee you, if you look hard enough, you'll see it.